Howdy, folks. I'm back. I had a little summer break, shortish few weeks, but we're back now. I'm still Mark, but today I'm also joined by, he's back too. He's Parker Deal. Parker,
Hey,
thank you for joining me.
you're welcome.
I
That's it.
didn't read my notes right. Thank you for joining me for this short talk about video games.
There you go.
So, thank you again for saying that. Yes, glad you're here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
You graced us with your presence. Well, you are listening to Quick Play, so let's get right into it. So Parker, last week we had this Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, which is the first big rollout for the Switch 2 since the first big rollout of the Switch 2. I think there's been some kind of tepid reaction to it, and it got me thinking of, the title of this episode is going to be, does Switch 2 have a remaster problem? And I think you think about, like, when we had the Switch 1 directs, like, end of Switch 1 of people making jokes when a direct would get announced, they'd be like, all right, get ready for a bunch of ports and remasters. They're kind of clearing out the closet. And Switch 1 was this really big deal where it's like that first preview, they showed Skyrim on Switch 1. It was like, holy cow, that's the kind of game we can get handheld. And we got a lot of these ports that were really cool, and like these kind of classic games from the 360 and PS3 generation, and a few of the next generation too. But like, oh wow, this is handheld now. And so we had all these that were ports and remasters. And now I'm like a little bit worried, like, are we just doing this again, but kind of the next generation? Like, are we in for a repeat? Because the luster has kind of faded a little bit on like, oh wow, it's portable. Because now we got other stuff like Steam Decks and all that. But what do you think? Coming out of this first partner showcase, what was your takeaway? Do you feel like there's a remaster problem going on here?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think there's been a lot of kind of discourse, I guess, around some things tangential to this that I'll get into as well. But yeah, I think, by and large, yes, I think it is probably going to be a theme. But also it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to have to continue to be a disappointing theme.
Sure.
Forever, because some of those, for me, like in a world where they announced Baldur's Gate 3, I'd be like, that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. Or Elden Ring gets a date or whatever. Like, there's a lot of these things that, like, there are ports that would be really exciting and are exciting. The tricky thing is Nintendo Directs, I think, are known for having quite a lot of games in them and happening at a more regular cadence. I think I don't keep up with it too much than State of Plays or Xbox showcases or whatever their name is at this point.
They've like got 3 different names for 3 different categories.
Right.
Who knows?
So I think it makes it tricky because it could be that there's as many new games coming out from third parties as on other places. There's not. That's not actually true necessarily. But, in some ways it could be that picks up, but there's more visibility for the ports and remasters because, like, overall there's just more stuff coming. So I'd be interested to like kind of run the numbers and see if it's actual or a perception thing. But at the end of the day, does it matter? As long as it is a perception thing, that's kind of where, it's going to count. So
that's true.
That's, it's reasonable to feel that way, I think is what it is. And I guess the bit that I was saying I'd come back to is like this. I've heard people kind of on either side of this, but I feel like oftentimes we'll hear people say something to the effect of like, well, if, at this point, if you'd wanted to play Elden Ring, you wouldn't be waiting to play it on your Switch. You would have played it on something else. So, like, who is this magical audience who only has a Switch, now has a Switch 2, and wants to play Elden Ring? That kind of a thing. And I think there's just a lot of people probably in that camp, and it's just not the vocal minority. It might also be the silent minority. Like, it might be a smaller number of people, but I think there is an audience there, but it's, I don't know, we don't have the numbers, so who's to say?
Up until 2020, like I was that. I only had Nintendo consoles. Like I was content with what I could get on Nintendo.
Yep.
I think another, to add more coal onto the fire for the on like, is there a remasters problem? I did also remember too, like the launch lineup of like third parties was really all
Yeah,
ports and
right.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like you're saying, of kind of just, is there more of this silent majority
Mm-hmm.
of Switch to of Nintendo players really who are like
Mm-hmm.
are now stoked that they get to play Cyberpunk, which apparently that like port's pretty good. Um, but it's at the same time of like, man, there's really like there is just like even Wii U had ZombiU as the Ubisoft like third party
Mm-hmm.
exclusive game, which was like kind of this, not very good game, but like a unique experience, exclusive, and it's like it was kind of emblematic alongside the launch of the Wii U. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels like the Switch 2 really doesn't have that. Like I feel like it would be Cyberpunk is kind of like
Sure.
this is the third party. If you're making like a Mount
Like,
Rushmore of like the third party
mm-hmm.
launch games of like that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You got thoughts? What are you thinking?
No, yeah. As in like a third party tentpole game, and like what's the
Yes.
thing kind of like holding it up? No, I think you're totally right. That there isn't that. I think that, and again, whether this matters or not, I think it's just like there. I'd be curious to see if other platforms do actually have that by and large. Thinking of like notoriously the Xbox Series and Xbox Series SX and
Yeah.
PlayStation 5 had like pretty paltry launch lineups, and especially on the first party side. But I mean, as far as third parties go, like, yeah, I mean, I think there are these really big third party games that probably, I wonder if Nintendo to some degree almost wants to bank on the notoriety of existing games to the
Yeah.
masses, because a brand new third party game, unless it's obviously, it's like it's a new Assassin's Creed, it's a new
Sure.
whatever, Call of Duty or something like that. Like that would be a huge thing.
Yeah.
So new game in an existing series, but for existing games versus brand new games in some way, I think it would be a tough sell for them not to just kind of go for the cheap win.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
whether that pans out or not, I think is
Yeah.
for sure a question.
And from what you were saying, it reminded me too of like, again, Cyberpunk is kind of like, it's more of a look at what our machine can do
Yes, right.
statement as well. That helps as well. Like,
It's the Doom 2016. It's
yes,
Skyrim.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. That's a great comparison where it's like you have Doom, like The Witcher 3 on Switch
Mhm.
1 was like, it didn't look great, but it could run. And
Mhm.
that was really impressive for this kind of tablet.
Yeah.
And so I know a piece of it too is like apparently Nintendo's been pretty stingy with development kits.
Sure. Yeah.
Just there are even still some studios out there who don't have Switch 2 development kits yet, even though it's like Switch 2's out. They
Mhm.
probably have Switch 2s themselves. I do like the idea of Concerned Ape, maker of Stardew Valley, work on Chocolatier.
Yeah.
I like to think Nintendo hooked them up. So like this one
Yeah.
single person developer definitely has a Switch 2 development kit to make
Mhm.
Han Chocolatier run the very best it could on Switch 2. But I know that's an aspect as well.
Yeah.
That a lot of these companies that would make like new exclusive games for Switch 2 just can't.
Mhm.
And I guess that just kind of has to be they have to roll it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what the holdup would be there.
I mean, it's interesting though too, because in some ways, so we're talking about all this in light of the partner showcase and stuff as a catalyst for it. But
Yeah.
like looking back on it, there were like, especially compared to some Switch directs, especially towards the ends, partner showcases
Yeah.
more than anything, were like remasters and ports galore. And this definitely had a lot of that. But also like there were more. Okay, this isn't. Curious on your thoughts on this. There were more brand new games here than usual, but I think people's impression of this direct specifically would have been bolstered if Elden Ring got a date, Baldur's Gate 3 got announced. Like, ironically, like where those ones are ports, those, I mean, remasters, just ports.
Right.
So it's, that's, I don't know. Curious on your take on that. Like, do you think that would have been the case or not really? Or
man, I feel like so. My knee jerk reaction would be like, yeah, it'd be a much bigger deal, but that's like I'm being a hypocritical where it's like, yeah, like that Elden Ring is just a port,
Sure.
which is happening, but um, it like it does feel like there was like I know kind of the big final 1-2 punch were the two like Square Enix, Octopath Traveler 0 and Elliott from Philadelphia, whatever it is, Millennium Tales. That being kind of like these new games.
I think also Cronos and Once Upon a. I'm just looking at the list of
yes,
games
I'm just scrolling through it too.
Cronos, Once Upon a Katamari, I think is also new.
Yes, I think Cronos,
Hela, however you pronounce that one. But you're right. As far as standout ones, totally, yeah, the ones you said.
Yes. But it does feel like there was like just feels like there was one or two big things missing. And I don't know if that's a like could a port like Elden Ring or a Baldur's Gate 3 really fill that gap, and probably like the thing is I think it could have, which doesn't really solve the problem that we're raising, but I think it like that would have been a big deal. I don't think Elden Ring a date by itself could have really like bridged the gap. Baldur's Gate 3 announcement, I think like that's what everyone would be talking about now.
Yeah, or Monster Hunter Wilds alongside, even though there's issues with that evidently, but that alongside Monster Hunter's Story 3. I'm good at words.
There's video game names have a lot of words, and a lot of words that just are strings of words that you can't say next to each other.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's and outside of the microcosm of this direct, I think kind of my stance here, and I'll be curious how this progresses, is we're getting a lot more like quantity than we got with the Switch for sure, and B maybe even like again PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X, just in terms of notable releases and stuff, but it's almost like watering down the amount of those that also are remasters and ports and stuff like that could very well be watering down the perception of the new ones where they kind of get buried a little bit. But it's tricky because like at the same time, like I would like some of those as being someone who just sold my Xbox, like I'm back to I just have a Switch and a Switch 2 now. So like, if I'm going to be playing a game,
you're the silent majority. Speaking from experience. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So it's, this is going to be maybe not controversial, but a little bit outside of the box from it. I think that a lot of this is not reasonable and like actually counting numbers and stuff, like isn't based on facts. I think it's our dopamine addiction, like I think it's the like just wanting the pacing of being excited and stuff. And like I'm of the opinion that I think we'll probably get a September direct just because it makes sense. So like also there's probably third-party stuff in that they had to take out of this, and all this stuff, and like so many rumors of other things that a bunch of those didn't show up here. So it's we're in this weird stage where like I do remember I watched some video from the Good Vibes Gaming guys like a couple weeks ago, before Donkey Kong, whatever that was, and they were like, yeah man, this Switch 2 just like doesn't have any games, and I was like, and they were contrasting that with the Switch 1, which I was like, you guys have like, I love you guys, but like so much what's the revisionist history kind of thing where like that's the Switch one. I mean, I was playing Breath of the Wild, nonstop. But like, as far as looking out for games, I was watching the Nintendo YouTube channel, and any trailer for any game coming to the Switch, I was like on it for months. Which is a silly time. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it also. What was that? Sorry,
this is a very non-answer from me, I think, but
it's fine. I think what you're like you're saying as well, I think of just there really was, it was Breath of the Wild was kind of it. Like
Yeah.
the only thing notable, it just, I think it helps, the revisionist history helps where Breath of the Wild was like such a seismic game, whereas like Mario Kart World kind of wasn't as seismic.
Yeah.
Like great game, love it, but wasn't like set the world on fire.
Yeah.
Like new favorite
It's
game
somewhere
of all time.
between a flash in the pan and a slow burn. Like there's not really, the same kind of like, constancy. That's not a word, but something like that,
Yeah. It's kind of left the cultural consciousness for a bit.
Yeah.
So I have kind of a final, my final fear I want to talk about, but I've got 3 caveats to make ahead of this final fear.
Okay.
One being that I think there's this mentality that maybe, which I say this of in my own brain, that like remasters and ports are like picking up slots of new games where it's like, where it's like, oh, they could like, even in this direct, they could be announcing the next Kirby game. Instead, they're talking about Plants vs. Zombies Replanted.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how game development works. Like, that's not how game development works, where it's like, I'm sure there's time being taken to remaster these games or port them over that could theoretically be being spent on making new games. That's not a one-to-one like comparison. Like it could just be, if they weren't making the remasters, we could just not be getting these games at all.
Right.
I do also, this is caveat number 2. I do also think that we've seen this big influx of remasters in last generation and this generation. And these remasters usually get announced for all consoles. A lot of these games are like from old storefronts. So I'm kind of the opinion that like the storefronts we have now on Nintendo, on Xbox and PlayStation, like these are the ones we'll just have kind of forever.
Yeah.
Like I think anything that comes out now is probably just sticking on there forever, unless you got the weird rights issues that makes it go away in a year.
Like how does Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like what does that look like in 5 years?
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the first one's still around, so I assume they figured something out on that front. I don't know.
Sure. Yes. And so I think it's even just like these remasters are kind of an excuse to make these games re-available. And sometimes when they probably were landlocked on the Xbox arcade or something like that.
Yeah.
Third caveat is something made me realize is like really since the Wii, Nintendo has always been kind of like like at least a few months behind in getting the version of the game, if not multiple years behind. Like, it hasn't been since GameCube that's like this brand new take the world by storm AAA game is coming out on all 3 systems.
Day and date, like feature parity, all that stuff.
Exactly. And so it's usually been like, a year later, like the Wii or the Wii U or the Switch gets it, or it's like 5 years later, the Switch gets it.
Yep.
So I say all these things. I think my fear is that like the Switch had so much like that there was all of this hype around the Switch of like, you can take these games on the go. I'm afraid the Switch 2 will rely on that too much.
Sure.
And not as much from Nintendo, but more from third parties that will rely on like, oh, well, we can just make our game from 2017. We can make that on the go now. Instead of like actually making games that really fit the system and really like are designed for the specs of it. But I think at the same time, what you're kind of saying of like, if you have a Switch and that's it, or a Switch 2 and that's it, like now you're getting those games and that's kind of what you want anyway. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, those are all super good points. I think the last one, especially like it's our developers, publishers, whatever, coming at it from the standpoint of like there was a while where it did seem like the Switch was just like a second wave by design for some of these developers. Like I think they stumbled into it on accident where it's like, it sold great on the other platforms. Now it's coming to the Switch. Now it'll sell great again to this audience. To a point that like, I think it worked then. I don't think that will work as well now, because I do think that like the people that like really got back into gaming on the Switch are playing these like bigger third parties and stuff.
Yeah.
I think most of them, it is true that most of them probably have, also now have an Xbox or a PlayStation or something, or PC, whatever, to be able to play some of those games. So I think while it's not true that there isn't, an audience that's like just on Nintendo's platforms or something like that, I think it's, I think it's more niche, maybe. So I think that's definitely a thing. And it's the question of like, is it happening because the developers are doing everything they can, the publishers are doing everything they can to get the games where they need to be at the time they need to be there, and like, trying to get it to people and would like to have day and date releases if they could? Or are they kind of like seeing it as a second rung or a second wave or whatever? Right. So like, I think that's for sure a thing. And then to your first point, I think it's interesting because like it feels like a bit bittersweet where Nintendo specifically with their games, it does seem like they try to have a backlog of finished, completed, developed games that like they can release to not have droughts, mostly probably because of the tail end of the Wii, a lot of the Wii U maybe. And like, so that they don't, that they probably do use some things as stopgaps that maybe aren't as exciting. In the same way, I heard Kit and Krista point out at some point, and I think it checks out. Actually, maybe even we were saying this a while ago, but like Nintendo isn't going for S tier directs. Like that is not their goal. By and large, they're going for B+ directs.
Interesting.
Like, because if they knock it out of the park, it means that they probably could have saved some of that for the next time around. Because they could do, Xbox 2020 presentation, Fable and Avowed and, everything, like throw it all against the wall and be like, this is the best thing ever. And then, be where Xbox is with first party games now. So, but obviously that's first party rather than third party. So those are two different things. But it'll be interesting, I think, even with first parties, to the topic is the Nintendo Switch 2 editions. Does their existence water down the, I don't know, validity or whatever of new games?
Yeah. Like, is that the new Wii U port to
right.
Like, interesting.
And does it take the spot? And if not, does it still feel like it takes a spot? Because that's, I think that, to me, like if we ignore Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions that came out at launch, we still had Mario Kart World. That was still a first party game. We still had Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour or whatever. So like technically that's the same ish as Breath of the Wild and Snipper Clips or something like that. And then had Donkey. So like we have this stuff, and then likewise with the Mario Party Jamboree TV thing and the Forgotten Lands stuff. Like, I think those are filling in additional little gaps that wouldn't be filled in by something else now, at least. But whether that's still the case in next year or 2 years or whatever, like, does Switch 2 edition take up an actual month slot?
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm something really, really curious to see.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like for Switch 1 that the Wii U Deluxe ports stuff really kind of took up too much of the spotlight. Do you feel like that way? Or
I think so. Yeah. I think, or maybe not the spotlight. That's probably, I think you're right on that. I think maybe just like the Nintendo's putting out something every month, more or less. Like that's their goal, is like more or less something every month. And I think that they had a couple of tentpole things a year. And then they also interspersed like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is in January or whatever. So like, might as well have something out then. Let's do this. So I think there was a lot of that where they would count it as their like kind of check mark. But I don't think they would have filled it with something else instead, because otherwise we would have just run out of things too early or whatever. So like I think it paced out well. I think we also are going to look back on this and feel like a lot of this stuff will probably come out in the wash, is my current feeling, because I likewise for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, well, more for PlayStation 5 launch and stuff. Now that there have been more games, I mean, still, like, there's not that many first party PlayStation games for this generation.
That's true.
But
yeah.
I don't think as many people are like really like kind of beating that drum necessarily. I think it just kind of is what it is at this point.
Yeah. So, and that's really like the helpful takeaway I have from recording this now is like kind of what you were saying of the silent majority of like people who are just Switch 2 owners.
Yeah.
Because I think I get caught up a lot in like listening to gaming enthusiast podcasts where they're very much like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Like, we've all got Xboxes. We've all got our PlayStations. Like why don't want to like buy this on Switch again? It's like, well, there's actually probably like tens of millions, like maybe, just tens of millions of people who just have a Switch 2 right now, and that's it. And they're really excited to play Elden Ring for the first time in a few months.
Yeah, and whether they're in the target demographic, who's to say? Like that is, it's a considerable concern, I'm sure. But it's not that those people aren't there. It's not that those people couldn't, be 12-year-old kids that in 3 years will be 15, and at that point will, it's hard to say. But yeah.
Good question. Well, here, our time is short. Before we go, how are you feeling about the Switch 2 overall? I haven't had you on since it came out. So
I've been playing it quite a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's exactly what I want out of it. I totally get other people's concerns and criticisms and stuff like that. Even the stuff on like the screen and this, that, and the other.
Sure.
I am not technical enough to know those things, but it looks fine to me. I will say, going back to the Switch, the couple of times that I have now, more painful than I expected. It's surprising how games I'm like noticing games chugging in a way that I just didn't before. Like it was not something I cared about or really noticed, and now I do. And then it just like feeling smaller. Like do you play handheld a lot for the Switch too?
I do a bit. Okay. Actually, yeah.
I go pick up your Switch and just look at it, and it's like, oh wow, this feels like small. Like I don't know, in a way that
I don't think I've done that since getting the Switch 2 at all.
I literally just did like 2 days ago for the first time. I was like moving it to another room. I was like, oh, weird. But yeah, by and large, I'm having a great time. I put a ton of time back into Tears of the Kingdom with the Switch 2 edition to kind of round out some stuff there, and am 100%ing Donkey Kong Bananza as I go along. So
nice, taking your sweet time.
Yeah, having a good old time with it. So yeah,
good. Well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've been enjoying it. Yeah, it's been great. Cool, big fan. Well, Parker, one name, one game. What are you playing?
Oof, Donkey Kong Bananza.
Nice.
That's the one. Although I do want to play the Elliott demo, but like I don't know, just I'm on a Donkey Kong kick. Okay, yeah, I'll be curious on your thoughts on it, as you probably haven't played any of the HD 2D games, because they're turn-based RPGs and stuff. So like,
gross.
I'm curious on your thoughts. Yeah,
this one's action RPG. That
exactly.
One's like, okay. I do love the art style. I just like, I look at the games like I'm gonna be bored by this. I don't want to spend money on it.
Yep, reasonable.
But maybe not Elliott. The Millennium Tales from Philia Bedelia, whatever a place is. Well, Parker, thank you again for joining me. Where else are you out on the internet?
Ooh, basically nowhere right now.
Good for you.
That's it's right here. Yeah, Blue Sky was the last place, and then I haven't been on in so long. Just the internet is overwhelming sometimes. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, nice. Yeah. Well, sweet. Well, thank you all for listening in. You can follow us on the major podcasting services. They're on YouTube. You can press all the good buttons there if you enjoyed this conversation. You can find us on the proper socials at Quick Play Pod, and let us know, does the Switch to a remaster problem? Have you been swayed either way in this? I am less concerned of it now, but maybe a little bit of afraid. I don't know. We'll find out in a few years.
I'll be curious also after the September Direct, if it happens, if Cartoon has changed. So just to put a little pin in that.
Oh, yes. Great question. Also, we should check up on our bingo cards.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun.
Well, actually, you know what? We haven't ended the episode yet. Let's pull it up really quick. See where we're at. I've actually been updating it as we've been going on.
Nice. I moved my mouse as if I knew where to find it. You got it.
I'll post a link to this in the description to show where we're at. I have been keeping track a little bit here. Actually, I'm going to share my screen. I think we'll see if I haven't tried it on this particular program. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go.
Oh,
You can kind of see it's very small. So far, so there's a few different things here. So far, I think you've got more spots. I do have a few, like, technically maybe that could work.
Sure. Yeah.
We talked about, also, if you're listening for the first time, I have no idea what we're talking about. Before Switch 2 came out, Parker and I did an episode on our Switch 2 bingo cards. So it's like picking out year 1 and year 2. Here's what we think is going to happen each year. And as they happen, we can get bingo. You did correctly predict that we get Silksong, that the Switch would be $450.
I forgot that I predicted that. I was surprised when it was $450.
So, well done. Yeah. And Street Fighter 6 coming out as a port and remaster. You also got Final Fantasy 7 was in either year, 1 year.
Nice.
And then 2 kind of asterisk ones. These for you are just because you guessed these would be year 2, but they're in year 1. You guessed a 3 Donkey Kong would happen. Got that right on the money, just in the wrong year.
Sure.
And Switch 2 companion app. I would say Zelda Notes is kind of like that. You got a few of these. I think that was the thrust behind it.
Yep.
But again, also you guessed that would come out in year 2. It was a launch day thing. So
nice.
We'll see if bingo comes in a technicality. But I'm kind of keeping track of that way. On my end, got confirmation that Hades 2 is coming out. 3D Mario, I guess in year 1, that's looking less likely.
Oof, yeah.
Elden Ring is, I guess, would be a port coming out. And then also, I guess that we'd have the longest direct yet, which was because the Switch 2 showcase was like almost an hour, and that would need to be over 51 minutes. A kind of light technicality was I guessed that Switch Online subscribers would have a free upgrade path for Switch 1 games. That is both true and not true.
Sure.
Where like there were a few games, being Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that were free. Other games were not. And some games were just free for everyone.
Yep.
And then I have 2 very, like, I don't know if this counts or not, technicalities. I did say we get Wind Waker, Zelda.
Yes. I'm here for it.
Okay. I mean, I think in the episode where I was said HD, we got it on Switch Online, GameCube.
Yeah, I did.
This other one I should not get, but I just thought it was interesting. I get in year 2 that we would have a Switch 2 game that where the soundtrack gets released on Nintendo Music app day and date the game comes out.
Yeah.
Technically, we just had Mario Paint on NSO was added to NSO and Nintendo Music simultaneously last week.
Wow.
I don't think that counts, but I just thought it was interesting that it happened. So, there you go. That's an update on our bingo cards. We'll check again.
One of those 2, NCAA College Football 26. You're so close because Madden, just not that. So
that's true.
I will be curious. Likewise on a lot of these things if some of them happen. I think like looking at mine, Chrono Trigger HD 2D. Nope, not feeling good about that anymore. After Elliott, so like cool. Golden Sun. Wish I was feeling better about that, but we'll find out.
Hopefully.
So. Yeah,
we'll see. There's probably some hope for Baldur's Gate 3, and they do another playtest for the playtest game, so we'll see if that has anything more.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's there in that the playtest game is still a playtest game. I wanted to get into that. I didn't see that until it was too late. I was like, man, I wanted to play that again. I had a fun time.
If you got in the first one, don't you already automatically get?
I think if I had. Also, I saw it after the registration part had closed. I think if I tried to register, it would have automatically done it. But the registration had closed, so I did not. But
dang,
I got Donkey Kong. It's no big deal.
Yeah, Donkey Kong. Got plenty to do.
Cool.
Anyway, Parker, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
We did all the closeout stuff already, so we'll see y'all later. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.